When Earth said no more, Commander Kylax Nethron stood before the massive viewing portal of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, watching the blue-green marble that the natives called Earth spin slowly in the void. His 12 arms moved with practiced precision across the command interface, each crystalline digit accessing different streams of data about this peculiar little world. For 8,000 years, the Nexarian Empire had expanded across the galaxy, without meeting any species bold enough to challenge their authority. Yet here, in this unremarkable star system, the impossible had happened. The communication array crackled to life, and Nethron's compound eyes focused on the holographic image that materialized before him. The creature was bipedal, small, and covered in what appeared to be synthetic skin. Its face held only 2 eyes, positioned absurdly close together, and it spoke through a single mouth opening. Despite its primitive appearance, something in its posture suggested confidence that made Nethron's exoskeleton tingle with unease. "I am Captain Maria Santos of the Terran Defense Authority," the human said, her voice carrying across the void with crystal clarity. "Commander Nethron, I believe you received our message 3 standard cycles ago. Your presence in our solar system constitutes a violation of Terran sovereignty. We're asking you politely to withdraw your fleet beyond the heliopause immediately." Nethron's mandibles clicked with amusement. The audacity of these creatures never ceased to amaze him. "Captain Santos, I represent the 3rd Battle Fleet of the Nexarian Empire. We have conquered 1,700 worlds and brought order to chaos across this galaxy. Your little planet registered on our sensors 300 of your years ago, yet you remained silent. Now, suddenly, you claim ownership of an entire star system. This is unprecedented." Santos tilted her head slightly, a gesture Nethron had learned indicated human contemplation. "Commander, humanity spent those 3 centuries preparing. We knew. Eventually, someone like you would come calling. We've used that time wisely. The solar system, including all space within 50 astronomical units of our sun, is now sovereign Terran territory. No foreign military vessels are permitted within this boundary." The bridge of the Eternal Dominion fell silent. Nethron's crew, battle-hardened veterans of a dozen campaigns, stared at the small hologram with expressions ranging from disbelief to outright laughter. Sub-Commander Korthik, his tactical officer, leaned forward with all 6 of his eyes gleaming. "Captain Santos," Korthik interrupted, "our long-range sensors indicate your species possesses approximately 47 vessels, none exceeding basic cruiser classification. Commander Nethron's fleet alone consists of 300 ships, including planet killers and dimensional artillery. Perhaps you should reconsider your position." Santos's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes that made Nethron's military instincts pulse with warning signals. "Sub-Commander, our ship count is irrelevant. What matters is our territorial claim and our commitment to defending it. We're not asking for negotiation or compromise. We're stating a fact. This space is ours, and we will protect it." "High Chancellor," Vorthic's voice suddenly echoed through the bridge communication system, transmitted from the Imperial capital world of Nexar Prime. "Commander Nethron, the Imperial Council has reviewed the situation. These humans have committed an act of unprecedented arrogance. No species in galactic history has dared to forbid Imperial passage through space. You will proceed to establish military stations throughout their system and demonstrate the consequences of defying the Empire." Nethron acknowledged the order with military precision, but privately he felt troubled. Something about the humans didn't align with standard patterns of pre-conquest behavior. Most species showed fear when confronted with Imperial might, while others displayed desperate bravado before inevitable surrender. The humans exhibited neither response. Instead, they projected calm certainty, as if they possessed knowledge that the Empire lacked. "Captain Santos," Nethron said, You've heard our Chancellor's directive. The Nexarian Empire does not recognize your territorial claims. We will be proceeding with standard occupation protocols. I strongly advise you to surrender your vessels and prepare for Imperial integration. Santos nodded slowly, as if she had expected this response. Commander, I want to be absolutely clear about something. Humanity has no desire for conflict with your empire or any other galactic power. We simply want to be left alone in our own space. But if you choose to ignore our boundary, you will face consequences that your military doctrine hasn't prepared. You four. And what consequences might those be? Korthik asked with obvious sarcasm. Physics itself will reject your presence, Santos replied with startling simplicity. Within our territorial boundary, the natural laws that govern your technology, your weapons, and even your biology will be ... different. Commander, I'm giving you one final opportunity to withdraw. After this conversation ends, our diplomatic protocols expire. What happens next will be entirely your choice. The transmission ended, leaving Nethron staring at empty space where the human's image had been. Around him, his bridge crew buzzed with excitement and anticipation. Young officers who had never faced serious opposition were eager to test their weapons against these strange creatures. But Nethron had survived 2 centuries of warfare by trusting his instincts, and every survival instinct he possessed was screaming warnings. Sir, Communications Officer Zelfax reported, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the human star system. Their planetary installations are powering up systems we can't identify. The readings don't match any known technology patterns. Elaborate, Nethron commanded. The energy signatures suggest they're manipulating gravitational fields on a planetary scale. There are also quantum fluctuations that our sensors can't properly analyze. Whatever they're doing, it's affecting space-time itself within their ray. System. Nethron's tactical display updated with new information as his science teams analyzed the mysterious energy patterns. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, according to intercepted human communications, appeared to be coordinating these activities from a facility on Earth's surface. Intelligence reports suggested she was some kind of scientist, though her area of expertise remained unclear. Commander, reported his intelligence officer, we've identified several key human leaders. Admiral Zhang Wei commands their space-based forces, while General Sarah Mitchell appears responsible for system-wide defense coordination. However, their technology and strategic capabilities remain largely unknown. Unknown technologies from a species that achieved spaceflight only centuries ago? Nethron mused. Either they've made impossible advances, or they've received assistance from a galactic power we haven't identified. 3 hours later, Nethron received new orders from High Chancellor Vorthik. Commander Nethron, Imperial patience is exhausted. You will advance your fleet and occupy the human system immediately. Resistance will be met with overwhelming force. The galaxy must understand that Imperial authority cannot be challenged. Nethron gathered his senior officers in the main briefing chamber. The holographic display showed their fleet formation alongside detailed scans of the human star system. Despite their technological superiority, something about the situation felt like walking into a carefully prepared trap. Gentlemen, Nethron began, we've received direct orders to proceed with occupation. However, I want all ships maintained at maximum alert status. The human's confidence suggests capabilities we haven't identified. We'll advance in standard formation, but be prepared for unconventional resistance. Sub-Commander Korthik raised a tactical concern. Sir, their energy readings indicate they're modifying the space around their planets. Should we consider the possibility of new defensive technologies? We'll adapt as necessary, Nethron replied. The Empire has faced countless unknown technologies and prevailed every time. These humans may have tricks, but they lacked the experience and resources of a galactic civilization. As the Eternal Dominion led the fleet toward the edge of human claimed territory, Nethron couldn't shake the memory of Captain Santis's final words. There had been no bluff or desperation in her voice, only calm certainty that suggested humanity possessed advantages the Empire didn't understand. The fleet crossed into the outer edge of the solar system at precisely 1400 Imperial Standard Time. For exactly 37 seconds, nothing unusual occurred. Then reality began to change around them in ways that challenged everything Nethron thought he knew about the universe. Asterisk. The first sign of catastrophe came from the navigation systems. Hyperspace routes that had existed for millennia simply vanished, not blocked or disrupted, but erased from existence as if they had never been. The quantum fields that enabled faster-than-light travel ceased to function within the sphere of human influence, trapping the entire fleet in normal space. "Sir," Zelfax called out in panic, "we're reading massive gravitational anomalies throughout the fleet formation. Something is rewriting the fundamental constants of physics around us." On the tactical display, Nethron watched in growing horror as his vessels began to change. Ships that had been designed for interstellar conquest were transforming into something entirely different. Their hulls were becoming denser, their weapon systems were reconfiguring themselves, and their propulsion units were evolving into configurations that shouldn't have been possible. Captain Santis's voice suddenly filled. The bridge transmitted through communication systems that no longer operated according to known principles. "Commander Nethron, welcome to Terran space. You've just discovered why we spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment. Within our territorial boundary, we define what's possible." Asterisk. The price of trespassing Commander Nethron felt his exoskeleton crack as gravitational forces that defied physics pressed against his flagship. The Eternal Dominion, pride of the Nexarian fleet, was undergoing a transformation that violated every principle of engineering he had ever learned. Metal was flowing like liquid, reconfiguring itself according to rules that existed nowhere in Imperial science databases. "Report," he commanded, though his voice now echoed strangely through air that seemed thicker than it should be. "Sir," Zelfax replied, his multiple eyes wide with terror, "our weapon systems are ... evolving. The plasma cannons are becoming something else entirely. Our targeting computers are calculating firing solutions for weapons that don't exist according to our specifications." Through the bridge viewports, Nethron could see the rest of his fleet undergoing similar transformations. Massive dreadnoughts were reshaping themselves into configurations that looked almost organic. Destroyer squadrons were merging together into larger structures that pulsed with unknown energy patterns. The proud Third Battle Fleet was becoming something unprecedented in galactic military history. Captain Santis appeared again on the communications display, but now her image was projected directly into Nethron's consciousness rather than through conventional holographic technology. The human looked exactly as she had before, calm and professional, as if reality-warping transformations were merely routine administrative matters. "Commander, you're experiencing our territorial defense system," Santis explained. 300 years ago, when humanity first detected the Nexarian Empire's expansion toward our region of space, we realized conventional military resistance would be futile. So we chose a different approach. "What have you done to my ships?" Nethron demanded, though he noticed his voice was being transmitted through methods he couldn't comprehend. "We've integrated them into our defense network," Santis replied matter-of-factly. "Your vessels are becoming part of the protective barrier around our solar system. Think of it as conscription, but for starships rather than personnel." Dr. Elena Rodriguez's voice joined the conversation. Transmitted from what Nethron's sensors indicated was a facility deep beneath Earth's surface. "Commander, I'm the lead scientist on what we call the Quantum Sovereignty Project. For 3 centuries, we've been learning to manipulate the fundamental forces that govern reality. Within our territorial boundary, we can edit physics itself. Nethron's tactical officer, Korthik, struggled to operate control panels that were now responding to thoughts rather than physical input. Sir, I'm reading impossible energy levels throughout the human system. They've somehow created localized zones where different physical laws apply. Our ships are being forced to conform to their version of reality. The implications struck Nethron like a plasma bolt to the cerebral cortex. The humans hadn't developed superior weapons or defensive technologies. They had learned to control the environment in which warfare took place. Within their territory, conventional military advantage became meaningless because the rules of engagement themselves were subject to human modification. Admiral Zhang Wei's image materialized alongside Santos and Rodriguez. The elderly human wore simple clothing that bore no resemblance to military uniforms Nethron recognized, yet he carried himself with the bearing of someone accustomed to absolute authority. "Commander Nethron," Zhang said, "our sensors indicate your fleet consisted of 300 vessels when you entered our space. Those ships now form part of our outer defensive perimeter. Their crews are unharmed, but their vessels have been repurposed." "This is impossible," Nethron protested. "No species in galactic history has possessed the ability to manipulate fundamental forces on this scale. The energy requirements alone should be beyond any single star system." Dr. Rodriguez smiled, an expression that Nethron was learning indicated human amusement. "Commander, we've had 3 centuries to prepare. We've learned to draw energy directly from the quantum vacuum. Within our territorial boundary, the normal conservation laws can be temporarily suspended. We have, quite literally, unlimited power at our disposal." The truth was beginning to penetrate Nethron's consciousness like acid through armor plating. The humans hadn't just claimed territorial sovereignty. They had created a region of space where they controlled the fundamental nature of reality itself. Any military force entering their domain would be automatically converted into part of it. Their defensive system. General Sarah Mitchell joined the conversation from what appeared to be a command center that existed in several dimensions simultaneously. "Commander, your empire has ruled through superior firepower for 8,000 years. But firepower only matters when everyone agrees on what physics allows. We've moved beyond such limitations. You're describing capabilities that border on." Nethron paused, searching for the appropriate concept. "Godhood?" Santos suggested. "Perhaps. But we prefer to think of it as advanced engineering. We've simply learned to treat the laws of physics as suggestions rather than absolute constraints." Around Nethron, his bridge was completing its transformation into something that was part starship, part living organism, and part mathematical equation. He could feel his consciousness expanding as the vessel's integration with the human defense network reached completion. Paradoxically, he retained his individual awareness while simultaneously becoming part of a vast collective intelligence that spanned the entire solar system. Through this new perception, Nethron could see the true scope of humanity's achievement. The solar system had become a single, unified entity where every planet, moon, asteroid, and artificial structure was connected through quantum entanglement. Earth wasn't just defended by weapons or shields. It was protected by the fundamental architecture of space-time itself. "Your crew will be returned to Nexarian space once our integration is complete," Santos explained. "Consider this a learning experience about the dangers of trespassing in sovereign territory. Your ships, however, will remain as part of our defensive network." High Chancellor Vorthic's voice suddenly echoed through communications channels that now operated on principles beyond Imperial understanding. The supreme leader of the Nexarian Empire had been monitoring the situation from Nexa Prime, and his tone carried the first notes of uncertainty Nethron had heard in 2 centuries of service. "Commander Nethron, report your status immediately. Our long-range sensors show massive energy distortions throughout the human system, but we cannot determine the nature of the phenomenon. Nethron found himself able to respond through the quantum communication network that now linked his consciousness to both Imperial Command and the human collective. Chancellor, the Third Battle Fleet has been incorporated into the human defense system. Our ships have been transformed into components of their Torial barrier. Recommendation: avoid any further incursions into human space. The silence from Nexer Prime lasted for several minutes. When Vorthik finally spoke again, his voice carried the weight of someone reassessing 8 millennia of Imperial doctrine. Commander, you are reporting that a species we encountered only 3 centuries ago has defeated our most powerful battle fleet without firing a single weapon? Affirmative, Chancellor. The humans have developed the ability to manipulate reality itself within their territorial boundary. Conventional military force is useless against opponents who can rewrite the laws of physics to suit their defensive needs. Dr. Rodriguez's voice reached both Nethron and Vorthik through channels that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Chancellor Vorthik, humanity has no desire for conflict with your empire. We simply want to be left alone within our claimed territory. Your commander's fleet will serve as a permanent reminder of the consequences of violating our sovereignty. Ambassador Chun Liu, a human diplomat Nethron had not previously encountered, joined the conversation from what appeared to be a negotiation chamber that existed in folded space. We're prepared to discuss trade relationships and cultural exchange with the Nexarian Empire, provided such arrangements respect our territorial boundaries. However, any military incursions into our space will result in the immediate conversion of hostile vessels into defensive satellites. The strategic implications were staggering. In a single engagement, humanity had demonstrated capabilities that rendered conventional galactic warfare obsolete. Any empire or species attempting to invade human space would find their military forces automatically converted into part of Earth's defensive network. The stronger the attacking fleet, the more powerful humanity's defenses would become. Hi. Chancellor Vorthik's response came after another long pause. The Nexarian Empire acknowledges human territorial claims within the specified boundary. We will establish diplomatic protocols for future interactions and designate the human system as off-limits to Imperial military vessels. Throughout the galaxy, news of the Nexarian Empire's first military defeat in 8,000 years spread at faster-than-light speeds. Species that had lived under Imperial domination for millennia suddenly realized that successful resistance was possible. Refugee fleets began appearing at the edge of human space, seeking protection from various galactic threats. Captain Santos addressed these new arrivals with the same calm professionalism she had shown to the Nexarian fleet. Any species seeking sanctuary within Terran space will be granted protection, provided they respect our sovereignty and contribute to the collective defense of human territory. We welcome peaceful neighbors, but will not tolerate hostile intentions. As Nethron's consciousness settled into its new existence as both guardian and observer of human space, he understood the true message Earth was sending to the galaxy. Humanity hadn't claimed territory through military conquest or technological superiority. They had redefined what territorial sovereignty could mean in an age of interstellar civilization. The solar system wasn't just forbidden to hostile forces. It was literally impossible for aggressive fleets to maintain their original purpose within its boundaries. Any military vessel entering human space would automatically become part of Earth's defensive network, creating a self-reinforcing protection system that grew stronger with each attempted invasion. From his unique perspective as both former Imperial commander and current guardian of Terran space, Nethron transmitted a final message to the Nexarian Empire. Boundary confirmed. Recommend all Imperial vessels maintain minimum distance of 60 astronomical units from the human sun. Terran space operates under modified physical laws incompatible with conventional military doctrine. The galaxy had learned a fundamental lesson about the dangers of underestimating humanity. Earth had drawn a line in space and declared it inviolable. Any species foolish enough to test that boundary would discover that humans had moved far beyond the limitations that constrained other civilizations. They had learned to edit reality itself, transforming their solar system into a fortress that existed beyond the reach of conventional warfare. The age of human isolation was over, but the age of human vulnerability would never begin. Asterisk.